Today I will be talking about the domain and range of functions. Now today I will be focusing on the domain. We all know that a function is a simple input-output system. It's a function of x, you plug in x and you get a solution. The domain of a function is all the possible x values or inputs that the function is that give the function defined solutions or outputs. So for a quick example, the domain is all the x values, so we're going to solve for x. Now given this function, the f of x equals 3 over 2 minus x. Now very simple, if we plug in 1 for x, 3 over 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1 equals 1, and the answer would be 3. But to find the domain, for all the possible solutions, you need to find out the solutions that are first not possible. So we need to find out what would make this function not a possible solution. And that would be a 0 in the denominator. So you see in the denominator, there is 2 minus x, and 2 minus x needs to equal 0. So in order to find out what will not give it an answer, we set 2 minus x equal to 0, and we simply solve for x. So as you can see, subtract 2 from both sides, multiply by -1 to cancel out the negative signs, and you get x cannot be equal to 2. If you get x is equal to 2, you'll find out that it will get 3 over 0, which is undefined, and that is not a real solution. So the domain for this function can be x, can be any real number except for 2. Now let's try another solution. That would be the function of x equals the square root of x plus 4. Now there is no such thing as having a negative square root, so we need to find out what makes this solution not solvable, and that would be having a negative square root. So we do the same thing, very similar to the last one that we did. We get x plus 4, which is in the square root sign, once again equals 0. It cannot equal 0, so we subtract 4 from both sides, and x cannot equal -4. It needs to be greater than or equal to -4. Because if x is -4, you find out that the square root of -4 plus 4 equals 0, and the square root of 0 is 0. And any other number that is greater than -4 will give you a solution. For instance, if you have a -5, you'll find out that the square root of -5 plus 4 is -1, and you cannot have a square root of a negative number. That is why the solution, the domain of this function is x must be greater than or equal to -4.
Today we are going to be using the graphing method to determine the range of this function. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure you're not in Scratchpad. Then you are going to graph the function on your calculator, like so. Because of the +3 in the function, we know, and the graph proves, that the vertex of this parabola lies on the point 0, 3. Because we know this, and because we know that the parabola opens up, we know that the range, or all the possible y values for the given function, must be greater than or equal to 3. In a problem like this, the domain would be infinite, because it's a parabola. However, the domain is a bit different, because you only have a set number of values that could be used. So in this case, with the equation f of x equals 4x squared minus 7, it has to be any number greater than or equal to -7, or else the equation wouldn't work. So if you plugged in, let's say, -9, the equation wouldn't work. So you can easily tell by this parabola that any number greater than the vertex of the parabola in the y direction would be a reliable y value and fit the function. So in a case when you're given a graph that looks like this, we can already tell that in any case the y value would be all real numbers. So as we can see here with this graph, we can see that it covers all the positive y values and also all the negative y values. So for a question like this, your answer would be all real numbers.